Dear students, today we are learning the concept of motivation. The objectives of this module are to understand the concepts like need, drive, motive and incentives, to appreciate the significance and uses of motivation, to learn the concept of motivation cycle. I want to ask you why you have chosen this course on psychology, or why you want to have a degree as part of your education. Definitely all of you have your own reasons to take up the course on psychology or to achieve your degree. These reasons which you mention indicate your motive to take up a particular task. In everyday usage, the term motivation is frequently used to describe why a person does something. Motivation is the driving force behind human actions. Now let us understand what this motivation is about. This is a central concept in our attempt to understand behavior and its causes. The term motive comes from the Latin word mover, meaning to move. Motivation is a process that influences the direction, persistence and vigor of goal-directed behavior. Motivation is the process that initiates, guides and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. Motivation helps us to understand what causes you to act, whether it is getting a glass of water to reduce your thirst or reading a book to gain knowledge. Of course, motivation involves the biological, emotional, social and cognitive forces that activate behavior. Motivation does not just refer to the factors that activate the behavior. It also involves the factors that direct and maintain these goal-directed actions. In such cases, motives are rarely and observable directly. As a result, we have to infer the reasons why people do the things that they do based on observable behaviors. Let us understand the nature of motivation. Motivation is a dynamic and continuous process. You can understand that motivation cannot be stable. Like for example, you wanted to prepare for your exams, you are sitting with the books and then you came to know that your favorite actor's movie is coming in the TV. You want to shift your motive from reading today to the watching of the movie which you like most. So here like motives can be dynamic. At one point of the time you wanted to do something, immediately that can be changed due to other factors. And why it is continuous? It's like it's an ongoing process. We cannot say that today you have a motive and you have achieved it and there ends the matter. Again some other motive comes up. So it is a continuous process from the womb to the tomb. That is, once we start living and then till we die, this motivation continuously influences us and so we say it is a continuous process. Motivation can also be a psychological concept. Why we are calling it a psychological concept? Because it is inner force in us. It is very innate in us. All the motives cannot be like always be guided by someone. For example, like I feel very thirsty, I wanted to go to the fridge and then take the water, or it is very hot, I want to have a ice cream. So that is like innately it is coming from me. It is inner force which is guiding me to do something. Or I didn't prepare for the exam, so I want to sit late night and then prepare. No one asked me to do that. So we can say motivation is a psychological concept as inner process influences us. We can say motivation is also a complex and dynamic function. Why it is complex? Because all motives are not simple. Sometimes, for example, you have some financial crisis, immediately you want the money. You are highly motivated to earn the money, but is it immediately possible? So certain motives are very complex and we should know how we have to achieve our goals based upon our motives. Motivation can also be very stimulating to the individual. because it is the factor which pushes the individual to take up a task. So, it stimulates our energy, it stimulates our excitement to take up a task. So, by understanding these features, we can understand the nature of motivation. Now, let us see how the famous psychologists who worked on the field of psychology, who worked on the basic processes of psychology, have defined the motivation. You know about B.F. Skinner, he is a behaviorist. He defined motivation as arousing, persisting, sustaining and directing desirable behavior. This definition helps us how a student can be motivated in the school. Similarly, Jung, another psychologist, defined motivation as the process of arousing the action, sustaining the activity in the process and regulating the pattern of activity. Then we have Morgan and King, who defined motivation as states within a person or animal that drives behavior towards some goals. So, whether it is an animal or whether it is a human being, only when they are driven, only when they are motivated, they are engaged in a particular behavior or an action. For example, if you have a pet animal like dog, you can see like when it shouts or when it is barking when it is hungry. So, that hunger made the dog motivated to engage for the behavior as to search for the food or ask for the food in its own way. Similarly, the human beings, anything that is felt deficient by the individual, immediately they want to overcome that or achieve that based upon the levels of motivation. Now, what are the characteristics of motivation? As we have already discussed, motivation is a personal and internal feeling, and it is also an art of stimulating someone, because not only we motivate ourselves as teachers or as individuals, we try to motivate others too. For example, if a friend is not able to study well or if a friend is not able to perform well in a sport, so what do? You try to motivate. So, it is an art of persuading someone, convincing someone to take up a task or to do a particular task. And motivation produces goal, and this goal can be positive or negative, and so the motivation can also be positive or negative. When we say positive motive, you want to help someone, that is a positive motive. Someone has stopped you from doing a particular task, or because of someone you couldn't achieve whatever you wanted to do. So, you are negatively motivated to harm someone or to scold someone or to insult them. So, motivation can be positive or negative, and it is system oriented. Motivation cannot happen all alone, its own driving forces. So, motivation system will be understanding in the coming section. And motivation is a sort of bargaining. Okay, I have too many things to do, but what is the first thing that I want to take it up? So, sometimes like you want to play, your parents say like take the books and read. So, you are motivated to take up both the things, but how do you initiate, which one do you prefer? So, that depends upon like a task of bargaining. Okay, at least for 1 hour I will play and then I will come back and do my homework. So, motivation can also be a action of bargaining. Now, once you have this kind of a motivation, how it helps us? Without the motivation, can't we work? Definitely. Even a small thing like raising the hand, unless you are motivated to raise the hand, you will not do that task. Motivation has its own uses. For example, it serves as a guiding force for all human behavior, but understanding how it works and the factors that it may impact can be important in number of ways. Understanding motivation will help us to improve our own efficiencies as we are working towards the goals. Motivation also helps people to engage into a particular action. Motivation encourages the people to engage in health oriented behaviors. Motivation helps the people to avoid unhealthy or maladaptive behaviors like risk taking behaviors and addictive behaviors. Motivation also helps us to feel more in control of their lives, and motivation also improves overall well-being and happiness. So, whether you want to be happy or dissatisfied, it all depends upon your own inner force. It all depends upon your own motive. Now, once you have understood what is the nature of motivation, uses of motivation and definitions of motivation, because I said motivation is a continuous process and it is very dynamic, we can understand that particular feature of motivation through the concept of motivation cycle. Let us see how motivation cycle works. Motivation cycle is a transition of states within an organism that propels the organism toward the satisfaction of a particular need. The state of motivation is comprised of 4 different states which takes place in an organism to drive him towards each action. Each action is first initiated because of a particular need. The need drives the person into taking actions. Positive results caused due to the actions further acts as an incentive motivating the person towards the goal. But as you know, the individual will never stop after achieving a certain goal, and this phenomenon continues on and on. This phenomena has been termed as motivation cycle. If you want to understand motivation cycle in an equation form, it would be something like this: need, which leads to drive, drive leads to arousal, arousal leads to goal directed behavior, as a result of which we achieve something, that is achievement. Once we achieve something, the reduction of the arousal takes place and then a new need emerges. The same thing can be seen in this figure, motivation cycle. First, there is a need. It can be a biological need like feeling hunger, feeling thirst, or you are suffocating, you want some air. So, anything that can be biological, you are deprived, your cells are deprived of the water and so you are feeling thirsty. Or need can be psychological, you want to talk to someone, you want to meet someone like who is very close to you, and when you have that stronger need, the greater the need, the intensity of the need, what happens? That leads to the drive. Drive is here you are aroused physically or psychologically, you want to satisfy that need. So, naturally when you are aroused, you will be showing it through your behavior. So, once you are engaged in the behavior and once it is achieved, that is you have met your close friend whom you wanted to meet, or you could talk to them over the phone and you felt very happy. This feeling of happiness is an incentive. Or if it is a biological need, you are feeling very hungry, you searched in the kitchen what is there to eat and it is your favorite food. So, when you had taken that, you are very happy, your hunger is satisfied. So, that is an incentive. So, once the incentive is giving you the satisfaction, naturally you have achieved your goal. What is the goal? You could satisfy your hunger, or if it is meeting your close friend or any other relative, naturally even you felt very happy after meeting them. So, once the goal is achieved, you are not stopping there, some other motive again will start. So, some other need again starts. This is called motivation cycle. Now, let us understand the concepts that we have seen in the motivation cycle. The first concept is need. A need is a lack or deficit of some necessity. It is a state of physical deprivation that causes tension within an organism. The tension caused when the organism is deprived of basic necessities of life as food, water and sleep causes the internal environment of an organism to be imbalanced. The imbalance caused by the need arouses the organism to maintain its balance. For any goal directed behavior, need is the first condition or stimulating factor. Now, what is the second concept in the motivation cycle? That is drive. Need leads to drive, which is the second step towards achieving goal. Drive can be defined as the state of tension or arousal produced by need. The drive can also be considered as the original source of energy that activates an organism. For instance, when an organism is hungry or thirsty, The organism seeks to reduce this drive by eating or drinking. So, drive acts as a strong, persistent stimulus to push an organism towards its goal. It is the state of heightened tension leading to restless activity and preparatory behavior. The third concept is incentive, the object of the environment that activates, directs and maintains behavior is called incentive. It can be anything as long as it has either positive or negative value in motivating behavior. The motivated behavior is directed towards incentive, and getting closer to the incentive provides satisfaction of the aroused drive. For example, behavior like eating food is an incentive that reduces the drive of the person caused by the need to fulfill his hunger. The reduction of behavior then cuts off and restores balance in an organism. The next concept is the goal. The reduction of tension in the body can be considered as the goal of any motivated behavior. A hungry man eats food and his body restores to a balanced condition. This reduces the tension. The reduction of tension as a result of an energized activity is called goal. Once the goal has been completed, the organism is again ready for another goal motivated behavior. Goal can be positive or negative. Positive goals are those that an organism tries to attain, like it can be food or it is achieving victory, etc. Similarly, negative goals are those that an organism tries to escape from or avoid, such as embarrassing situations, punishments, etc. So, these 4 steps continue on and on throughout the life course of an individual. Because the needs are never ending, it leads to drive, which then lead to incentive and the goal. Now, let us see how motivation impacts the behavior. Anyone who has a goal like wanting to lose 20 pounds or run a marathon immediately realizes that simply having the desire to accomplish something is not enough. Achieving such a goal requires the ability to persist through obstacles and endurance to keep going in spite of difficulties. There are 3 major components of motivation. One is activation, the second one is persistence, and the third one is intensity. So, activation, the person has to be ready mentally to activate. Persistence, it is not sufficient if you just act and then stop, you have to continue your efforts. And the intensity, what is the level of the motivation that you have? So, let us understand these components of motivation with an example. So, activation involves the decision to initiate a behavior. For example, enrolling in a psychology class. Then what is persistence? It is the continued effort toward a goal even though obstacles may exist. An example of persistence would be taking more psychology courses in order to earn a degree, although it requires a significant investment of time, energy and resources. The third component is intensity, which can be reflected in the concentration and vigor that goes into pursuing a goal. For example, one student might complete her studies without much effort, while another student will study regularly, participate in discussions and take advantage of research opportunities outside the class. The first student lacks intensity, while the second one pursues educational goals with greater intensity. The degree of each of these components of motivation can impact whether or not you achieve your goal. For example, strong activation means you are more likely to start pursuing a goal. Persistence and intensity will determine if you keep working toward that goal and how much effort you devote to reaching it. Dear students, hope you have understood now why we are here, why we take up a particular task, what makes us engage in a particular behavior. So, all this is explained in the concept of motivation. We also learnt about the motivation cycle, how the concepts of need, drive, incentive and goal will be influencing and directing our behavior. We have understood the nature, definition, uses of motivation and how that directs the human behavior.